What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Time to Talk Denver. My name is Tom Luthner, and first I want to start off by apologizing for a few things. One is the connection of this video. My webcam is broken, so I have to get a new one. So the connection doesn't look as good. And the second is the lack of uploads. I've been dealing with some personal stuff, work, and just time that I couldn't get off. So I didn't get to upload a lot. But I'm back, hopefully, and hopefully I can get a lot of episodes out for you guys. So let's just jump right into it. The draft just ended, so let's get into our pick, Daron Holmes. It looks good. I'm not mad at it. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is he's 6'9", 6'10", I think. But I think he averaged 20.4, 8.5, 2.6 assists, and 2.2 blocks. So a small guy gets some blocks for us. I think that going into free agency, this helps us more than any other move in free agency would have. Why? Because now we don't have to look for a backup center. We have our backup center. I liked trading up for him. Mid-round, I was sort of excited for us to maybe get Filipowski at 28, and then later in the second round, maybe get a guy like Bronny who could help us out off the bench. But right now, it's looking like we're losing KCP, and I am fine with that. So let's get into our free agency. Again, my first note for this podcast was when the trade happened for Josh Giddey, and I know that he was a potential candidate for us to trade for. So that's off the table. I would love to see us move for a guy like Clarkson. I know the original mocks were for us trading picks for him. Now the draft is over. I'm not sure how that would work out. But again, I think it was, Najee, Reggie picks for Clarkson. We moved Reggie, so we'll get into that in a second. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing Strother, Christian Brown go up to the starting shooting guard spot, and Jordan Clarkson being a bench guy for us. We just need the offensive firepower off the bench right now, especially with Reggie being gone. Am I mad about Reggie getting traded? Yes. Am I upset for our future? No. He is older. He's a vet. I didn't like him opting into the $5 million player option for our sake. For his sake, it makes sense. But I would have liked to see him on a vet minimum. I think we would have kept him if he did that. I think it's smart for us to trade him and the picks to gain the salary back, because if we lose KCP, it makes sense. I think we have about 18 million to spend now, closer to 19 million, and that helps us with KCP declining his 15 because he wants 20. So there's a lot of people talking about players that we could get in a lot of posts. I'm seeing a guy that we could get at vet minimum is Gordon Hayward, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that depending on what happens with our starting shooting guard spot. A lot of people are upset. I see everybody posting and commenting, and they're saying, if we get Gordon Hayward, then our guys like Strother, Watson, Brown, they're going to lose their minutes. No, they're not. They're there for defense. But these are the same people that are complaining about Peyton Watson not being able to score, Christian Brown not being able to score. These guys can't score. That's why we need an offensive player off the bench. So if Gordon Hayward comes in on the team and we get him on a vet minimum and he stays healthy and he's able to play, yeah, he's going to get those minutes over Peyton Watson because Peyton Watson can't score in big minutes. When we need somebody to score off the bench, we saw that it could not happen. That's why we're looking to get a guy like Gordon Hayward. I would love to see it happen. I would love to see us get a great score off the bench. Maybe, and you know what? If he can't stay healthy, that's one thing. Again, he's on a vet minimum. That's why I would like to see him on a vet minimum. People complain constantly about Watson can't score, Brown can't score. But then as soon as it's, okay, we might get a guy like Gordon Hayward, first thing is, well, he's going to take the young guys' minutes. Yeah, that's because we want to win right now. And if those guys can't come in and score, then we're going to get screwed over, which is why I like Julian Strother. I think Strother might be a spark plug for us off the bench. But I would love to see Hayward on a vet minimum. Again, you can't be mad. It's Gordon Hayward. The guy was averaging, I think he was averaging around 11, 12 points a game pre-injury this year. And I know the Thunder just said it was a stupid trade to get him back, or to get him. But I don't mind him. I think that he would work as a bench player for us. I think if he's healthy and a guy like MPJ gets hurt, either Brown's moving up to the starting five and then Hayward be our sixth man, or Hayward moves up to the starting five and Brown still comes off the bench. I think it works. I would love to see it happen. Let's get into the KCP drama right now. He declined the option. I think that what he wants is an overpay, but I know it's just the market. The market right now is $20 million a year. I don't think paying a guy that's averaging 10, 3, and 3 for $20 million a year is worth it. That's just my opinion. I know it's just the market. I know that Caruso is getting the same kind of deal right now, which is crazy. I know that we just signed Jamal Murray for a very high contract, but even look at the Knicks contracts. They just paid OG Anunoby more than Jamal Murray's getting, which is fine. I mean, listen, and that means for me, Murray's a little bit of a steal for us. I know that he deals with his own injuries, but the market to sign a guy for 20 million, if we're looking at money, like financial options, and We don't want to pay KCP the $20 million. The one move I would like to see is us going all in for Bogdan Bogdanovic from Atlanta. Him and Jokic are friends, first of all. There was a video posted of Jokic winning his horse race in Serbia, and Bogdan Bogdanovic was celebrating with him. So the chemistry is already there for them, too. And he's averaging 17, 3 and 3 in 79 games. He has an $18 million a year contract. Save the $2 million, get Bogdan Bogdanovic. Might not be as good of a defender, but he's a better offensive player. And what do we need in the playoffs? Wasn't defense. We were getting cooked anyway. So why not get a player that could score? Well, there were the few games we lost down the stretch by, 6 points, 9 points, 8 points, or we just allowed 20-point runs. Not because we were a good defensive team. If we couldn't go on runs where we're getting blown out by 20 and we couldn't score. I mean, if you're going to allow a 20-point run, at least score 16 points. Like we didn't have a guy that could do that because KCP was shooting 4 shots a game. You're giving this guy $20 million to play decent defense. Anthony Edwards dominated us and shoot four shots a game. I'd rather go get a guy who can, take another 6, 8 shots a game. I know it's not that much off, but Bogdan is a more efficient offensive player than KCP is. KCP has one of the highest 3-point ratings in the NBA, sure. But again, at 10 points a game, that means you're only shooting max 3 threes a game, which I don't even think he does. Sure, some games he has 20, some games he has, 15, 18. But in the playoffs, he wasn't doing much for us. It came to the point where, sure, you're playing decent defense, but again, Anthony Edwards has 35 points again. And then Mike Conley has 15 points if you're guarding him, and you have 6 points. And that doesn't help us if we need an offensive guy. So I say go all in for Bogdan Bogdanovic. Two other guys in the KCP drama I would like to get. Corey Kispert, if he's available, I think that we could pay a very cheap price for him if we do get him, even if it's a sign and trade with KCP. I believe he's on a smaller contract. He's good. His numbers are a little inflated because he's on a team that's garbage, so you can't really look at his numbers and be like, "Oh, this guy's amazing." But if we were to be able to get him, I think he would fit in our system fine. A good shooter. We haven't really seen what he's able to do on a good team because he's never been on one. He's on the Wizards, which are a joke organization right now. So I wouldn't mind to see him, depending on the price. The next guy I wouldn't mind to see is a lot of talk right now around us getting Klay Thompson, one of my favorite players of all time. And it's funny, as a Nuggets fan, I should hate him. I love him. I love Klay Thompson. And this guy, anybody that we're getting in this position is just a fill-in for KCP. And I wouldn't mind a guy like Klay Thompson being that fill-in. This guy's had multiple championships. He's a Hall of Famer. They're going to be our fifth option, fifth option, depending on where we're going to be at with Aaron Gordon. And I would love Klay Thompson as a fourth or fifth option. Would he play the role egotistically? Well, I don't know. I think his ego might get in the way of that. But again, if he wants to go out and put up 20 points for us, go out and put up 20 points for us. I'm not mad. I think that at this point, he might slide up to the third option, and him and MPJ switch touches every game, which is perfect. We had another lethal shooter. Sure, he was 0 for 11 or 0 for 10 in an elimination game. KCP was 2 for 4. Doesn't really matter. Sure, he didn't score. He didn't hit a shot. That's fine. But this guy that we're paying 20 mil was 2 for 4. He had 4 points. Maybe 6, maybe 5, depending on how many threes he took. But we lost by 6 points. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at. Where KCP, where it's, if we're gonna give you $20 million, you have to go out and put up at least 12 points a game. That's my thing. Average 12 points, go up 2 points per game, and in those big games, give us the minutes that we need. You see MPJ struggling. You can't only take 4 shots and do nothing with it. I felt the same way about Aaron Gordon in the elimination games last year. So I wouldn't mind seeing Klay. I would actually like to see Klay. And I think there's 3 teams that are running right now. We're third. I think the Mavs are the number 1 option, which scares me even more. Because right now we have to make a move to compete with these teams. We're competitive if we get KCP back. I'm not saying we're not, but then we need bench pieces, because if the Mavs just get Quentin Grimes, where Tim Hardaway Jr. did nothing for them, and then if they get Klay Thompson, now they have Luka, they have Kyrie, they have Klay Thompson, they have Quentin Grimes, who's a decent offensive player. You have Jaden Hardy, you have Derrick Jones Jr., you have Gafford, you have Kleba, you have Powell. They have a good team, and they have the depth offensively. They have Dante Exum off the bench. Our depth offensively would be a sophomore and 2 juniors in the league next year, and a rookie in Day'Ron Holmes that we don't even know how he's going to produce. Obviously, I think he's going to be good, but we don't know how he's going to produce yet. So again, I would love to see us compete and get Klay Thompson to prevent a Western Conference team from getting KCP if that's possible, or even Klay Thompson, because I know Eastern Conference teams are in on both of them. So if Klay goes to Orlando, Klay goes to Orlando. If KCP goes to Philly, KCP goes to Philly. If we get one of them and one of them stays in the Western Conference, or we get none of them and one of them stays in the Western Conference, we're not in a good spot there, because then we have to fight for somebody else. The last person I want to cover is an MPJ trade. There was talks about us trading Najee, MPJ, and a bundle of picks for Paul George. I wouldn't like that trade. Paul George hasn't really achieved much. I think in Indiana he was fine. Not saying he's a bad player now, but we're replacing a guy who hasn't made a Western Conference Finals on the Clippers for MPJ, who won the finals with us. I mean, like, I don't know where to be at there. I wasn't a fan of it. I don't want to get rid of our picks for a guy who's, in his 30s and injury prone. Sure, MPJ is injury prone. MPJ is 27, 28 years old. So he might be there in a couple of years, but right now he's fine. I'm not going to get rid of him for Paul George, who hasn't been proved. He hasn't been able to win anything. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that trade. The only move I would like to see, and it's funny because this sort of contradicts what I was just saying, but I would love to see a move for Lauri Markkanen depending on what happens with the KCP situation. If we're able to move KCP or he leaves and we're able to sign people for maybe 3 guys on contracts that would make sense, and we're able to move Lauri Markkanen or MPJ for Lauri Markkanen with Zeke Naji, I'd be fine with that. Markkanen's a better offensive player. So is Paul George. I'm not saying he's not. Paul George might be a better defender too. But what I'm saying is Markkanen is less injury prone than Paul George is, and he fits our system. I would rather move our 6'10 small forward for a 6'10 small forward, not a 6'7 shooting guard who now we're lacking a small forward because Christian Brown's coming into the rotation at 6'7. Like I would rather us stick with the big lineup that's been working for us. I would rather that happen. So the only way I'd rather trade MPJ than keep him is if we build up our roster, not just that position. If we're going to trade Naji, we already traded Reggie Jackson. I would have liked to see Reggie Jackson. We're lacking a little bit of guard depth right now. If we are able to trade Markkanen, maybe somehow we get Markkanen and Clarkson. Doubt it happens. If we're able to trade MPJ, get a bench point guard, get a starting shooting guard that fits our rotation, or get KCP back and make that trade, fine. If not, keep our roster, try to get somebody who replaces KCP, try to get one or two bench pieces offensively, and we'll go to championship again. If not, then I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm super excited because free agency starts in 2 days, so I will give you guys updates when I can. Please check out the next video, and thank you guys for checking out this one. I'll catch you guys soon.